Hey, what's up, everybody? This is episode 19 of Tech Yeah Games. We're making it to the big time. And Leo, our co-host, is actually gone today. He is in Taiwan for Computex. And so I have invited my good friend and coworker, Albert, to come hang out with us.
Hello, Tony. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
I'm very good. Very pretty tired, but you know.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. I'm excited to dig in.
Yeah.
I think your story's interesting. Like, your experience is interesting, especially to the people listening to this podcast. Kind of a quick introduction. I work with Albert. He's on my team. But one of the things when we hired him on our team that was really interesting is that you've done some writing and spent a lot of time living in Korea and kind of working around esports and kind of gaming and participating in that culture. And I think that is something that is very interesting to our listeners, right? So we'll get to that after we do the news of the day. And but before we even do that, Albert, have you been playing games at all this week, this month? What are you into right now?
Yeah. I mean, I've gotten back into League of Legends. That's always been my bread and butter for like the past 7 years.
Yeah, it got a hold of me lately too.
Yeah,
actually.
yeah. It's pretty fun. Like, they changed the meta around. It's a lot of my other friends started playing from high school and middle school. So, that's a added, incentive to play. A lot of new champions are really fun. I really got into Pyke these days.
Dude, I love Pyke. I'm a Pyke main for sure.
It's so fun because the ult is like insane. You can make a lot of plays. And so, yeah, it's been really fun. Like, there's a lot of different kind of team comps and metas. And I like that. I want League to, have diverse, metas instead of, having a really stagnant, meta for a while.
Yeah, it's funny. I main top lane, and I feel like top lane is always so samey.
Yeah.
It's always the same champs. Like, Darius is always a problem.
Yeah.
Garen's always a problem. Aatrox. Like, it's always such a similar hero pool.
Yeah, it is.
It's not that exciting, but
yeah.
But that's why I just always pick Yorick, because he's the king of the top lane, if you ask me.
No, he is.
What else, though? What else have you been playing?
And I also play Apex Legends.
Ooh, an Apex champ over here.
Right. No, I feel like I've gotten really bad because I haven't played for 2 weeks, and I feel like Apex is one of those games where you have to keep playing to hone your skills and be on top of it. But it's pretty fun. But the battle pass, it's such a grind to level up. So.
Yeah, I had a real problem with the battle pass when it launched and came out. And I think people that listen know Apex and League are both games I've complained about a lot on the show.
Yeah.
League is one of those games I try and step away from, and then people draw me back in. Apex, I have done a good job of kind of avoiding since I complain so much. But it definitely demands a practiced skill. Like, you got to be playing it a lot so you're sharp when you play. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Lately I've been playing this game like nonstop, and it's not a great game. It's called Minion Masters. And have you ever played Clash Royale?
Oh yeah, I have.
Where you drag
them?
It's like cards and you drop them. It's basically that on PC. And I saw some streamers playing it. Some Hearthstone streamers were playing it over the weekend, and I was like, oh, I should check that out. And literally downloaded it and just played it like nonstop for like 2 days. And it's pretty good. I'm getting to the point where I'm a little, like any of those kinds of games, you get to a point where it's like, oh, like, I'm not climbing anymore. I just have to unlock chests. Like, this isn't really great.
Yeah.
But it's a fun game, so I've really liked playing that. Still playing a lot of Mordhau. I don't know if you had a chance to try that yet.
No, I haven't. What game is that?
Mordhau. It's like a first-person melee, like medieval game, kind of like Chivalry. I don't know if you ever saw that game, but you basically run around with swords and whack each other.
Is it a multiplayer?
Yeah, it's all multiplayer.
Okay.
And it's gruesome and super fun, and so I still have fun jumping into that game. It's a good time.
Sounds like a fun, if you like the medieval times, that's a fun game to play.
And if you like gratifying melee combat, like cutting people's limbs off, and crushing their heads.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, it's very.
I'll check it out. Yeah.
It's gratifying in a way that makes you a little uncomfortable with how much you like it, but it's also really exciting. Yeah,
I'll try that.
So yeah, I've been doing a lot of that. But other than that, I think the one thing that's popped up that's on everybody's radar, and I just saw it on Twitter this morning, is that Death Stranding trailer. Did you see it?
I saw it. It's on Twitter.
What did you think of the trailer?
I mean, I'm really lost because the guy that made it, Kojima.
Kojima.
he made all the Metal Gears game series. I haven't played any of them,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm not really sure about his style. So, but when I first saw the trailer, my initial reaction was, "What's going on?" It's like a mix of open world action, stealth, and those are all genres I really like. So I think I'll be really inclined to buy it since there's so much hype behind it. But there's definitely a lot of plot holes that I don't really know. I'm not really like in the scene yet, so I'll have some digging to do.
Yeah, as someone that's spent quite a bit of time playing Metal Gear games, I think the thing to remember is like Kojima's kind of like a avant-garde like game designer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he's always trying to make things that are kind of like interesting and artsy and like has like grand ideas and so it's it's hard. Like you look at that, you're like, this makes no sense. But like a lot of that's kind of what draws me in so much to have like, and I think Sony does a great job of this with the way games like God of War and Spider-Man and like all these huge games they've just released. I feel like those games have gotten so much space and so much money to make like whatever the developers kind of wanted, right? Like it didn't seem like those games were like held back by the studio. And so I'm really interested to see like what Death Stranding is, right? Sony's putting all this money into it. Kojima's kind of being allowed to like do what he wants, like it seems like he was always fighting Konami when they were together. So it just makes me really excited to experience something that's just like weird and different and fun and interesting and kind of has its own kind of voice, So I think it's going to be cool. I'm excited for it. Are you think you'll try it when it comes out?
I'll definitely see the reviews and I'll think about playing it. I mean, I definitely want to watch it at least. Someone play it. I like doing that, like walkthroughs on YouTube and stuff. It looks fun. So would you say that this game is really his own work? The first time he gets to really, 100% of it is his kind of vision and, creative desires.
I mean, I would assume so. I think like you're a lot younger than me, right? So like I get like you haven't played through like the Metal Gear franchise wasn't important to you like it was. Like I'm in my mid 30s, you're in your early to mid 20s, right? So, when I was a teenager, Metal Gear Solid for the PlayStation came out, right? And it was like the first fully 3D like stealth action game where the guards had like the view cones, and you could like sneak through the place and crawl around and equip all these weird items. You'd use like a cigarette to see the laser sensors. You know what I mean? It was a very interesting game. It had really weird puzzles. Like there was this thing on the game, a boss, and his name was Psycho Mantis, right? And the whole fight was crazy. And like one of the things that would happen is like the game would read your memory card and the boss would start talking about other saves you had and like be like, oh, I see you like these games and blah, 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 blah. And like, like just mention weird stuff. And you're like, was that just for me? Is that what the game's supposed to say? Like this doesn't, this is weird. Right. Like, and then at one point your controller would stop working and you had to unplug it and plug it into player 2 to finish the fight.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it just did like these weird things that you hadn't seen from games really.
I didn't know you can even do that, the plugging in and out thing.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So it was a different time and like games like that really didn't exist. Like just these weird fight mechanics. And like he was like the mind like he was like a mind altering character. So it was like made sense with his character that he could do all these weird things and kind of look into your memory card or change the way the game played. And none of the other bosses had weird mechanics like that, but that's kind of what made it so special. Is like you'd hit these moments and everyone kind of would have their own flavor, right? And it was like super fun. I beat that game so many times, and I didn't really play. I played the later ones a bit, but didn't really get into them in the same way until 5, which is the latest one. And that game was obviously like half finished. You could tell like they were fighting so much in making that game that it never got really realized, but it was a cool game. It was like this kind of open world stealth action game where you could really like do whatever you wanted. You could beat levels any way you wanted to. Like you could you could ride your horse to the right. Like if you had to assassinate a target, right? You would just like ride your horse onto the road and have the horse shit in the middle of the street. And then people would drive up and like stop and be like, what's that? And get out of the car. And you could murder them. You could steal their car.
Is that actually a way to kill?
Yeah,
kill
you could do it.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it was very open-ended as far as how you could achieve these missions. You didn't have to kill them. You could knock people out and put what they called a Fulton on them, which is like a balloon. And you'd float the bad guy in the air, and a plane would come pick him up, and then you could use them in your base to do stuff around your base.
Oh my god, that's really, I've never heard of that.
I mean, that's what I mean. These games are just so weird, right? And I think that's what makes me so excited for Death Stranding is like, it just seems like it's so much weirder, you know, and like that's exciting to me. Like that's an exciting proposition. So, yeah, I'm pretty pumped up to see where it goes, but. It is super weird.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to have a lot of different kind of, like plots and a lot of different kind of modes. You know, it is open world, but it seems like, you know, some levels you seem to have to do like more stealthy, and some levels you fight. Some levels is more, you know, like character driven, and you have to like talk with characters. So I like that about that because, you know, I don't like games can get really boring if it's only just, you know, constant fighting. You know, like if John Wick 3 was made into a movie, I know some people might get a little tired of, you know, too much action. But this game seems to have a lot of different kind of, you know, ways to play the game. So, I mean, I like that about it.
Yeah, the movement mechanics look cool.
Yeah.
Like the super ladder you laid down and it just like fell against some rocks.
And the ropes and the tools.
Like he anchored that thing and just climbed down a random rope into a ravine. You're like, oh, this looks cool. Like this looks pretty neat.
Yeah.
As far as like how you could explore the world. So, yeah, I'm interested to see how it goes. Did you see what the special edition is?
No, I didn't. What does it have?
So, you know, in the game, there's that baby thing they wear. It's a full-size one of those. It's literally a full-size pod with lights with a baby inside.
Oh my god!
It's not a real baby, obviously.
I mean, I know, but
they don't give you a baby.
That's scary. Why would anyone?
I kind of want one, dude.
Really?
Yeah, I want one kind of really bad.
Do you know how the baby kind of fits into the story or
Nobody
the game?
knows. Nobody knows. I know you think because you just saw that trailer that like, oh, you don't know what the story is, so like that's why you're confused. But nobody knows. There's been really one other like trailer or two other trailers, and both of those were similar in tone, like random babies and weird ghost men floating in the air. You know what I mean? Like it was a lot of what you saw, just less gameplay. Like this one actually had gameplay with the fighting and stuff that was cool. But before that, all you got were kind of these flashes of like, I don't know, it looks like, you know, you travel through worlds and there's a weird baby and, you know, like, you know, as much as everyone else now.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah. The baby part really creeped me out. I'm not going to lie. But
babies are creepy.
Yeah. That would be a good Halloween kind of costume though.
A baby in a bubble?
Yeah.
Are you going to be the baby?
Yeah, I'll be the baby.
Maybe you could get those costumes where it's like, you know, where it's like two people, but it's one. You
know,
with a cage in front of you, or
that
a
would
dinosaur.
be really fun. Yeah.
But your head could be like the baby.
Yeah. Just get a smaller friend and you know, have him be the baby.
Yeah, that'd be pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Halloween, me and you got to be the baby though.
I'll try. All
right. So that was pretty exciting. I suggest anyone listening to watch that trailer. I think just for the fact, like, if you want to say video games are art, like, then you got to watch those kinds of trailers to see, sure. Right? Like, it's not Call of Duty. You know what I mean? It's a different kind of thing. And I think we should embrace that as best we can. But so the meat and potatoes. Leo's gone. You're the guest host. We're gonna break it down. I need to give you a real interview and get to the bottom of who Albert is.
Great. Sounds good.
Are you excited?
I'm excited.
I'm excited too. So from the start, let's get a short kind of your history and how that relates to games. You don't got to tell me everything about your life, but kind of when you ended up moving to Korea, kind of how your experience was there, like overview, and when you kind of moved back, I think is a good place to start.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So, I guess if I have to describe my childhood in one word, it would be very hectic. I did a lot of moving around. You know, I was born in the States, but, you know, I don't remember any of that because I moved back to Korea. I moved back to Indiana, moved back to Korea, moved back to Texas. But the bottom line is, it's, you know, I did a lot of moving around. But one thing kind of stuck with me, and that was kind of gaming. And I think I got my first PC that I can really game on during middle school. And I needed the computer for homeworks and whatnot. But the main reason why I used the PC was obviously gaming. And gaming became especially in Korea, it's definitely a big cultural thing, as everyone knows. PC bongs, PC cafes, PC tournaments. The first major kind of esports was created in Korea with StarCraft, Brood War. And so I kind of got into that, and all of my friend groups, literally all of them, except for the girls, they played StarCraft, they played, certain FPS games. I would say the CSGO equivalent was Sudden Attack. I don't know if you've heard of that.
I've heard of it.
But yeah, that's what everyone literally played. And there's also other games like FIFA, MapleStory. I've dabbled in all of those, and World of Warcraft. Yeah. So and I think all, playing all of those games kind of taught me to be kind of really grounded in who I was. Mm-hmm. So, when you're growing up, you make a lot of friends, and especially if you move around, you kind of lose those friends and stuff. So, since I kept my computer, all throughout the moving, I was able to just keep playing and stay connected with my friends. So I think that was the best part about gaming, and to this day, I still, connect with my friends and, maintain those relationships because, of gaming. And yeah.
So did you play Brood War a lot? And was it like kind of the first game you really got into, or was it, was League out at that point? Was that kind of what you got into?
Yeah, StarCraft was probably the big thing. Sudden Attack, I would say I was a little better at Sudden Attack. The RTS, like the strategy games, they're really hard. Like you have to have really fast fingers with the APM and stuff, and I wasn't really good at that. But yeah, FPS games I think was my true love at that point. And then League came around during high school. I played a lot. I actually played on the American server from Korea. Despite the 200 ping, we all still kind of like persevered and played on the NA server, because it was more fun. I mean, we had more friends there too. So I started League when I was in high school, and I still play it to this day.
So did you were you guys into so the thing I see I actually just watched a video about PC bongs, and I've heard a lot about them, and I've been to Riots. They have one set up at Riot, and I like it, but I think it's different. When my image in my head of being in high school in Korea is you and your friends go to a PC bong after school and hang out and drink teas and eat French fries, and you know what I mean, and because that's what we would do when I was in high school. We just sit outside of. Just sit outside of Jack in the Box, right? Because we had nowhere to go, or go to a friend's house or something. So is that kind of how your experience was when you were in high school? You guys would just go to PC bongs on the weekend or after school and kind of hang out and play League as a group. So I think that's really different than how we kind of do it in the States.
Yeah, I think in middle school I did more of that, kind of hanging around after school. I played some sports, so after sports we went to PC bongs. But the thing is, you also go to a lot of after school programs, it's called hagwons in Korea, and it's terrifying, and people hate hagwons because you're stuck in another classroom for 2-3 hours. But the best part of that is you take those after school classes with other friends, and after class you go to PC bongs.
So a hagwon's like a cram school.
Yeah, cram school. Yeah, and it's really late at night, and I don't, my mom would say just stay there after and do, extra studying. But, we were immature and we didn't want to study that much. So we kind of, went to PC bongs in secret and as groups. And as high school rolled along, as I could get a better computer, we played from home, Skyping. That was the Discord back then. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. That's kind of I was kind of in that era, between 5th and 8th grade. I would always, so 7-Elevens used to have arcades in them here. Yeah. And that was all I would do is go to 7-Eleven and play Street Fighter every day.
Wait, 7-Eleven had an arcade?
Yeah, all 7-Elevens had Street Fighter 2 and Mortal Kombat in them for some reason. And it was just for some reason those two games, because they were the biggest games in arcades. They just had them in every 7-Eleven.
That sounds actually pretty cool.
It was great. Every when you're a kid, it was great. I'm sure now it's very different. I'm sure 7-Elevens would kind of hate that, right? Because they're kind of a different store now.
Right.
But yeah, we used to just go hang out at 7-Elevens nonstop and play Street Fighter. I'd play Mortal Kombat if like I had to, like if Street Fighter was full, because I was, I wasn't a big kid, so sometimes there'd be bigger kids playing, and you'd have to kind of play what you could get.
Yeah.
But so it's kind of similar. Like, that was kind of what I like after school. If my dad was late picking me up, I'd be like, just pick me up at 7-Eleven, and he'd be like, don't go to 7-Eleven. I would just go, right? Like I had to learn to get better.
Yeah.
Like, I remember I'd get in trouble because I would save my lunch money. Like I wouldn't buy lunch, or I'd just buy like a small thing for
you
lunch.
would starve almost.
Yeah, I would just starve.
Yeah.
And then use that money to play. Like I get a Slurpee and quarters, and then I would just go play Street Fighter, and just come home and just eat everything at home, right? And I would just get in so much trouble. My dad would get so mad because I just would spend all that money. Like, he's like, I have to give you lunch money, but you don't buy lunch. So it's like, what can I can't. I don't know how to deal with this.
Yeah.
But so I think that's kind of similar. I think that's similar to kind of. I mean, I wish we had I wish I could have gotten into PC gaming like that at that era, because I played a lot of StarCraft in middle school too. Like I had an old Apple powered PC is what they called it. And StarCraft was the only game I had that would run on it, because StarCraft had an Apple client.
How was it? Was it like smooth?
Not really. I didn't know any better, at that time. So I probably thought it was running great, and it probably was like 15 frames or something, right? God. But you don't know if it's the only thing you've ever had. And I used to love playing StarCraft. Like it was great. And I didn't really play a lot of competitive StarCraft until StarCraft 2, which is hardly StarCraft, But so answer me this question. Why are Koreans so darn good at games?
PC bongs.
Yeah.
Yeah, the culture of gaming. I mean, in America, I think there's way more things to do. Granted. I mean, I like that about America, because there's a lot of other activities, sports. High school's different. You branch out, you date, and things like that. But in Korea, I feel like there's, the culture is very inwards. You have to just be by yourself, study, go, get a great education, go to a good university, and get a job from one of the big 3 companies in Korea, right? That's pretty much it. So because it's so so inward and grounded, I think PC bongs and gaming was definitely like the biggest kind of outlet for many people. And because it's such a big outlet, people get competitive, even with basketball, pickup games, one-on-ones, you bet lunch money on that kind of thing. That's basically our one-on-one lunch money bets. We want to get better than the other. We kept track of, StarCraft, like our scores.
Yeah, like leaderboards.
Yeah, like, we keep track of it for like 10 years now. My friends still keep track of it. So it's, that kind of mentality kind of drives people to get better, I think. And that kind of mentality is also reflected in solo queue, I think too. And when I played in Korean solo queue, people really try hard. They really want to win. Obviously there's ragers, people troll, but I think for the most part, people want to win. So if they get angry, they just get angry at, the game itself instead of, yeah.
Yeah, US solo queue is trash. It makes me so mad.
It's pretty different.
I get so mad because most of the people there, I wouldn't say most, but if you got 1 or 2 people on your team that don't really care if they win, it's like, oh, this is bad news. Like, like they can just completely ruin the game.
Yeah.
Really make you spend 40 minutes just like watching them troll, right? And that's what always makes me mad about League and Riot, is they don't do anything to really prevent that. Like they have such a hard time banning accounts. I get it. People spend a lot of money on their accounts, and they don't want to separate people from that, because I'll tell you, like if my account got banned and I haven't spent that much money on my account, I wouldn't play anymore.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Simple, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's a big part of it, is like, well, how do we reform these people? Well, they're not going to get reformed, right? They know there's no punishment. So, but do you think part of kind of the success in Korea with gaming is the fact that it's cool? Because I think back when I was a kid playing StarCraft, and I would like download, I can't remember what it was called, but these like stadium StarCraft matches, right? And I can remember, like, I can't remember their names. I wish I could. But these kids that were like, 20 years ago, that were I believed at the time, like Korean megastars for playing StarCraft, you know, and they were 17 years old. They were like my age or a little bit older. And just seeing, so I mean, even in the States, that's still not a thing, right? 20 years later, we still like maybe Ninja now or Shroud, but they're like adults doing like streaming. They're not even like competitively the best, right?
Right.
So seeing these teens that were like superstars, or at least in my mind, really was like, man, like if I feel like if we were treated that way here, or if like people that were really good at that games were treated that way here, like we'd have this like robust gaming culture like Korea does. Do you think that's a big part of why they're better? I mean, just because it's, from my perspective, cooler.
I mean, I think it's both cooler and economically, it's a very sound. It's actually a very, you know, viable kind of strategy, you know. I think it's kind of like equivalent to kind of like some basketball prodigy in, you know, like some very like ramshackle neighborhood, you know, somewhere in, you know, Oklahoma. But he can still have a big future and make a lot of money because he can get drafted by a college, by a high school. And that kind of system, I think, was, you know, games were able to funnel that kind of system in Korea from a very, you know, for very young age people. So I think that economically it's viable. You know, you can earn a lot of money. They house you, they feed you, you know, everything is paid for, and you earn a lot of money. And the most important thing is after that, you still have a course after you retire from pro gaming, you still have, you know, streaming as an alternative to make money. I see a lot of, you know, pro gamers, StarCraft, that stream right now, and this big streaming site in Korea is called Africa TV. I don't know if you've heard of that. Yeah, it's one of the pro teams too. So a lot of people, you know, make YouTube videos, they stream, you know, they have sponsors still. So it's still a very viable thing. Like it's like a athlete, same thing as an athlete in America.
I feel like Korean streaming culture is so weird.
Yeah, it's
right.
Yeah, it's weird.
There's so much stuff on those, you know, like you see these Africa TV videos pop up on like Reddit or something, and like half the time it's gamers, half the time it's like girls eating, sometimes it's like girls in swimsuits dancing. It's just like, what, like, you know what I mean? Like this is, I mean, whatever, you know, like I think that's not so weird, but to be in one spot, you know, like all those things, like, you know, Twitch kind of has, not always perfectly, but always tried to kind of keep their content at least like gaming specific. I mean, now it's kind of everything, but kind of non-sexual or like, you know, and so, and you know, mukbangs.
Mukbangs.
Yeah, mukbangs have never really caught on in the States. I mean, there's some people that do similar things, but it's not like there where people are like filthy rich eating, you know, giant. And how do those girls eat so much and be skinny? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
That's the one. Like, they eat like 8 bowls of ramen and pho, and, you know, I don't know, like, how they do it.
Yeah, like 5,000 calories.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Crazy,
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I totally lost my train of thought. Oh man, is Faker the LeBron James of video games?
Yeah, I mean, people say Michael Jordan. Okay. So, you know, yeah, definitely at the, you know, apex of pro gaming, you know, esports, and he's still, you know, up there, I think. You know, obviously they didn't win the MSI tournament, but, you know, and the fact that he has a backing from such a big company in Korea, telecommunication company, SKT, yeah. You know, it bodes well for him. And also, now that he, you know, cemented his name, he can go anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, China's going to pay him like triple, double easily. So
yeah, like if Faker went to China, right, and did like a stadium tour playing League of Legends,
oh, so good.
Like, would it be would it be massive? Like,
it would be massive. Yeah.
Really, you know, like that's what you think. Like if he took like some of the SKT guys, right, like their contract ends, and he takes Peanut and somebody, I don't even know who's on there or who their friends. I don't know who's socially friends in those groups. But if they were like, we're gonna take a 5-man and we're gonna do a world tour, and we're just gonna play any pro teams in other countries and challenge them, right? And like, you know, they just seem so huge. I mean, I think even in the States they could sell out a stadium.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Let alone like in China, people in China love League of Legends, right, for one.
Yeah.
Just like the amount of exposure they could get, like it just seems massive. It seems crazy to me how popular Faker is. You know, like crazy, because I'm not even that big into pro League of Legends, and I know who Faker is, right? The only other people I know because I've been to LCS a couple times, and I've kind of like met these dudes. So I'm like, oh, I know who that is, or whatever. Like I don't really follow the teams that well.
Yeah.
But another thing you've done is you've done some writing and kind of been involved. Well, tell me, because I don't even really know. I know we've talked about it a long time ago, but like I know you had some involvement with like kind of like esports personalities and kind of interacting in that world in Korea. So tell me more about that. I guess like what is your kind of level of involvement? How was it? And was it different? I mean, it's so much bigger in Korea. So kind of how different was it than how you see esports being treated in the States?
Oh, wait. So my personal involvement?
Your personal involvement.
Well, I mean, in Korea, I didn't really, get to be, involve myself as in like go to games, be part of team. I had some local, kind of regional PC Bank tournaments for like, like $100 or $1,000 prize pool. I mean, still at that time, it seemed like a big deal. And, and we had like some online tournaments for Sudden Tech, and which was a long time ago, but it was fun. But the first kind of real like stadium experience I had with like crowds and people watching and stuff was in UCLA. Unfortunately, when I was playing, esports wasn't like collegiate esports wasn't like that established. I mean, it was there, but it wasn't like it wasn't like funded or anything. But now it's like pretty established. But back when I was part of the team, we went to a few tournaments in San Diego and whatnot, and Long Beach, and it was really fun. Like it's so different from just playing ranked 5 Qs. It's so fun. Like people watch you, people clap. Every time you mess up, the people go like, oh no, and like you really feel that kind of pressure and intimidation. But the thing is, like when you win, it's that much more rewarding, and being physically next to all the players. So like the PC Bang format, it also really helps. It's like kind of endearing and kind of like makes you relaxed when you play. So yeah, I think that was really it was such a special experience for me that I'm always gonna cherish.
Yeah, it's so fun. Like I will say, like even in a smaller scale, like when I was younger, I'd played like an online online like ladder tournaments and stuff mostly for like tribes and tribes too, but a little bit for Counter-Strike as well. And it's like it's so funny because like when you play games, you have such like good ideas, right? Like a lot of I think gaming to me, especially like competitive gaming, is like thinking of a good idea, trying to outsmart who you're playing against, or trying to kind of what they call like a high IQ play, 200 IQ play or whatever. And trying to implement it, and sometimes it goes great, and sometimes you outthink yourself and you just do something stupid, or you like flash in and you just get owned, and you're like, I had a good idea, it just didn't work how I thought it was going to work. But there's something so gratifying about like playing in a tournament or something and having one of these 200 IQ plays and having it and pulling it off, and just having everyone just be like, oh shit, like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, he did it. I can't believe he did it.
That's the best feeling.
That's the best feeling in the world.
It is, yeah.
And I think that's true for sports or anything, right? But, I think in gaming, it's so much more. I mean, not to say sports aren't mental, but sports are very physical. I think a lot of playing sports is kind of physical repetition and just being that much better than the people around you.
Yeah.
Where I think with gaming, that's a big deal too. But I think being able to kind of understand meta concepts in games and outthink the people that are playing is so much more demonstrable when you're playing games, and especially when people are watching and they're watching the meta game, they're not really watching the small fights, and you do something really, in the case of League, like a great rotation, or you steal a Baron or whatever, right? Like it just feels so good,
Yeah.
And so I think that's such a big part of it. Let's see where we're at. Okay. I want to make sure we're not going too far, but we're pretty good. So what else? Like, when did you move back? You gonna move back from college?
I went to middle school and high school in Korea. So yeah, college. I came to UCLA 4 years, and for 2.5 years I've been stayed at LA, working and grinding.
Working and grinding. Working here.
Working at
We don't say no. Okay. I pretend like we don't mention it, but we always end up saying where we work, so it's not a big deal. So what about post college? What's your game experience been like since then? You still all PC games? Have any other games kind of called out to you since that time, or has it really been League consistently?
Yeah. I think. Well, you definitely have a little bit more time, I think, since you graduated. So I think I play a lot of games where I can kind of reconnect with my friends. As I said before, I want to maintain those relationships. I still do want to play League, and it's nice that I'm having fun because I don't want to be playing games I don't want to play. But I'm actually kind of dabbling in like kind of some single player games too. I'm thinking of downloading Watch Dogs too.
Oh yeah.
That's on sale on Steam. So I was like, and it looked really fun. The reviews were good, and I know kind of like the other kind of those Japanese kind of like stealth games. Those games look really fun too. What's that one that came out recently? Sekiro. Yeah, that looks really fun too. And I've been kind of like getting into those kind of single player games, like Assassin's Creed, another one of my favorites.
Yeah, the new if you haven't tried them, the newer Assassin's Creed games, Odyssey and I can't remember the one before that is, but they're kind of more of an open world like format, and they're good games. I've never really been that into Assassin's Creed games, and I will say that the last two have been really interesting, really good departures from the earlier ones. I feel like Assassin's Creed really lost its way for a long time.
Yeah, especially before those recent two games, it kind of became stale. It's definitely more of like an RPG kind of game now, for sure. But in the early days, the first Assassin's Creed and the second one, I think those were definitely the best because, man, it's really just fun, like just being really stealthy, and like the fighting mechanics were so new, and I don't know, it was more about like the character development, the animus, like there was a lot of more plot driven, a gameplay. But I think they're kind of returning to the plot driven like kind of gameplay as well, and they're also choosing new destinations and locations, which is a great refreshment for the game.
Did anyone play console games in Korea?
Console games, not really.
I feel like nobody plays consoles there.
I'm sure there is a big crowd for console games actually, but especially for guys like middle school, high school guys that are just going to Hogwarts, I feel like console games, well, first of all, console games, it's harder to kind of like hide from your parents.
Yeah.
I mean, to be really truthful, like you do a lot of like kind of secret gaming a lot because your parents expect you to study all the time, and PC is such a fantastic tool for that because you're doing homework on it, but then you just alt tab and you're in a game of StarCraft. So I think it's console game, definitely, I don't think it really found its footing in Korea, but I definitely see a lot of people play like sports games, especially. I feel like that's what people use it for mainly.
Would you have a lot of culture shock coming here from like going to college here? I mean, it sounds like the way you describe Korea is a bit repressive. You know what I mean? Like hard to date, kind of hard to, because the way you talk about it seems like it's kind of hard to interact with the opposite sex. Like when I was in high school, I had girlfriends, I was dating, I was going to the beach, having fun, going to parties and drinking, and it sounds like your experience was not that.
It's definitely different. Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, I would say it's a culture shock. A lot of the Koreans that are from America, they were growing up here. Their parents are also really different. Their parents are also very open-minded, very progressive, but Korean parents that are traditional, very, very different. From dating, from gaming, from education, from career path. It's very different.
Okay. Couple more questions and I'll let you go. Do you have any crazy Korean stories? Crazy PC bong stories? Or did you get in a fight outside of PC bong? You did taekwondo for picking Timo? Like, any crazy stories?
I've seen a lot of fights outside of PC bongs.
I bet.
Yeah, because there are 24/7. A lot of drunk people come to PC bongs. But I don't really... Oh, there was one interesting story where we kind of met strangers at a PC bong, and then we kind of joined them. It was sudden attack. We were just like, oh, you guys have 3 people, we have 2, so 5 people teams. Let's try that, and it was really fun, and we won a lot of games.
I love those kinds of. Those are the best.
Yeah, it's really fun. You don't expect it, and especially in Korea where people are kind of like they don't like interaction and they're kind of like socially, awkward.
Do they like foreigners in Korea?
I think nowadays it's definitely more foreign.
Yeah.
It's more diverse, and I think they're very open to like talking with foreigners.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, last question. This is the big one. What's the best Korean food?
The best Korean food, apart from Korean barbecue, right?
I mean, if you want to say it's Korean barbecue, that's fine. But you
Okay.
got to like name what it is in Korean barbecue. That's
Okay,
good.
pork belly, Korean barbecue is just the best.
It's the best.
Yeah,
huh?
and brisket. Yeah, but pork belly is by far my favorite because it's just so it's tasty. I mean, it's pork belly.
It's so funny. You go to Korean barbecue. There's all these things on the menu, and everyone's just like 2 plates of brisket and a pork belly. Just bring it out, and it's like. I like the steaks. Like I like when they get like the ribeye.
Oh yeah, I mean those are good
too.
But you can't go wrong with pork belly.
I feel like the pork belly's so salty. I'm not gonna tell you you're wrong. This is your opinion.
I love salty food, so
Yeah, that's true.
It really
I feel like
helps.
the pork belly's so salty. I like anything with that red hot sauce on it.
Yeah, I just use salt.
It's so bad for you, but I like anything with that sauce. There's a place in Santa Anita Mall called Mixable. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
I haven't heard of that.
It's kind of like Chipotle, but for like Korean bowls.
Wait, really? That sounds amazing.
Yeah, so it's like rice and then veggies and then like sprouts.
Do they have pork belly?
Oh, I think they have pork belly.
Oh, they do. Okay.
I usually get like bulgogi, but I have them not with the sweet sauce. I haven't put red sauce over it.
That sounds good.
Yeah, and then corn and cheese and kind of all the Korean stuff. You put it in a bowl. I think it's super good, but I wouldn't say it's my favorite Korean food. I like Korean bar food, to be honest with you.
Bar food? Oh, so like what? Like what?
Like we were talking about earlier, the rice cakes in the hot sauce with the
tteokbokki.
tteokbokki. When they put the one I get is this place called Dansongsa in Koreatown.
Oh, it has ramen noodles.
It has everything in
and
it.
Spam. Okay,
Kimchi and spam and ramen and like sausages and like anything.
That's called budae-jjigae.
Budae-jjigae?
Yeah.
That is the shit. I wish I could eat that every day of my life, but I would have a heart attack.
I think that's the prime example of like the alcoholic food. It's the best food. I mean, because it has everything. It's spicy. It has protein. It has noodles. Everyone loves that.
Yeah, I find that red sauce so like spicy food's generally kind of addictive to eat. Like it's kind of a pain you crave. And I don't like super spicy food. I feel like that's just usually it's just spicy enough, right? Like it's not like crazy like like Nashville fried chicken spicy where it's like impossible to eat, like it's very edible, but it's kind of that pain that's just enough where you're like, oh, I'm gonna take another bite. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, but the thing is, you don't want to throw up after eating that.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, it hurts.
Yeah, that sounds terrible actually. Now I'm kind of scared.
But you don't really throw
much.
Up though, right?
No, I don't really drink that much, to be honest with you. So I would say like that's kind of something I would go out on a special occasion and have like a beer or two.
Yeah.
And kind of munch on that while I'm drinking it. And I think that's, fun. And it's cheap. You have a couple beers.
It's tasty.
Have a couple Heights. Is Height's the big beer?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have a couple Heights. Have that thing. That's a good night right there.
Yeah.
All right.
Sounds good.
Yeah. I mean, we can wrap it up. We don't need to go too late. Anything you want to say before we get you out of here?
Shout out to my family.
Shout out to the fam.
Can I do shout outs?
You can do whatever you want.
Cool.
I'll give you a couple minutes if you want to talk.
I'll shout out to Tony, your favorite podcast host.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's very nice of you.
And my girlfriend Christine.
Oh, Christine.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me borrow Albert for a minute. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and this is super fun. This is my first podcast, so I think this is going to go down in the history books.
Yeah, usually it's when you ask people to be on your podcast, it's their first podcast.
Yeah, it's pretty fun, yeah.
You didn't want to give Christian a shout out?
Oh, Christian, yeah, I definitely have to. He's my ADC, so.
Yeah, Christian and Sky.
Sky.
And the crew.
Yeah, the crew.
These are all people that we've played League of Legends, or played Apex with a lot,
yeah.
and now play League of Legends.
The gaming crew.
Vicky, hello.
Yes.
Okay, I mean, with that, I think we're done. We love you guys. We appreciate you tuning in and listening to us. So if you want to look us up, leave us a comment, tell us about your experience with gaming. You can send us an email, techyeahpodcast@gmail.com, or just go to techyeahpodcast.com and you can find all of our relevant links, our Twitter, our Facebook, our email, all that good stuff. And you can also find all of our previous episodes, leave a comment on any of those, or just say hello. And with that, we love you guys, and we're done.
Peace out.